Okay, let's start off by creating a Flash ActionScript 3.0 file. And let's change the frames per second to 30 so that this runs a little smoother. Remember, the higher the frame rate, the smoother the animation runs. And let's go ahead and save this before you go any further into your OneDrive Animate folder, and with your period number, your last name, and then motion editor. So you know that we can animate just about anything. We can make objects move, photos move, we can make text move. We also have the ability to make text move and in a very specific way. And we'll use some motion presets to do that. So we're going to start off with our text tool, and I am going to type the word Mustangs, and I'm going to use my caps lock to make it all uppercase. You can use Mustangs as well, or you can type something else as long as it is 6 characters or more. You also can choose any font that you would like, as long as it is a thick, wide font. I'm going to hit pause while I choose mine. And I'm going to go ahead and go with stencil. And I am, obviously since I'm doing Mustangs, I'm going to choose Mustang Blue. And then I'm going to increase the font size. I'm going to go ahead and bump it up to 100 here. And then once I get it to 100, because I like the height of it, I'm going to widen it a little bit. I'm not going to drag it up, increase the height, just the width, to where this text box basically fits the width of the stage. And then, I can align it to the center of the stage like that. Now, the next thing I want to do is go ahead and go to the View menu and choose Rulers to show the ruler. Because what we want to do is we want to drag a ruler from the very top down about 2/3 of the way. And I don't have a magic number for you. It's just about 2/3 of the way down. And this just acts as a guide for us. That's all it does. It doesn't actually get published. I'm going to go ahead and use the arrows on my keyboard. And just so you know, if you hold down the Shift key while you use the arrows, it actually bumps it up a little bit faster. So the arrows by itself can be kind of slow. All right, so I'm zooming in because I want to make sure that my letters are sitting right on that guideline before I go any further. Okay? All right. Now, and notice that I put the letters there, not the bottom of the text box. Okay, there's a difference there. All right, so now what we're going to do is we want this word to come on the stage, but we want to come on one letter at a time. And at the moment, it's one text box. So what we're going to do is we are going to break apart the text. And you have a keyboard shortcut, or you can go to the Modify menu and choose Break Apart. Now, when you break apart text, it breaks it apart into individual letters first. And I want you to see that these actually could be editable if you needed them to be. Okay? So they're all, whoops, I'm going to undo this real quick and do this again. There. All right, so there they go. They're all selected. They're all individual text boxes. And now what I want to do is I want to right click. I can right click on that keyframe, or, oh, whoops, nope, not right click on the keyframe. Sorry, right click on the text and choose Distribute to Layers. Okay. Now, when you do that, I'm going to move up my layers here real quick. You can see that it actually names each layer what the letter is. And the layer that originally had something on it has nothing on it now. So I can delete that layer. Now, what we want to do is we want to individually click on each letter and convert it to a symbol. Each one needs to be named. So obviously the M gets named M. It becomes a movie clip. And before you click OK, we need to change that registration point so that it is in the bottom center. Okay, right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Then I'm going to go to the next one. And I'm going to have modify convert to symbol. And it is a U. And it keeps the settings for movie clip and bottom center because that's the last one that I did. And I shall keep going until I finish. S T A N G, and now I have another S here. So this one is going to be S2. Okay? Now, it's important that you don't bump these out of the way. Okay? They need to stay in that same spot that they were in order for this to work cleanly. Okay? All right, so we're going to start with the bottom layer, and we're going to start animating. Okay? So what I want to do, remember we changed our frame rate to 30 frames per second. So I want the first part of this animation, I want this M to drop onto the stage in this place in 1 second. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come down here on frame 31. Not frame 30, frame 31. And I know I'm in 31 because I see it right there. You also, somewhere down here, have a frame indicator when you have your playhead over it. But I'm going to F6 to insert a keyframe. Whoops, F6. Okay. And then I'm going to put my playhead back on 1. And I'm going to right-click on frame 1, and I'm going to create motion tween. Now, the reason that I put this keyframe in first is because I don't want this keyframe to be a part of this motion tween. Okay? It's going to actually have a second motion tween on there. So what I want to do now is go to frame 30, and I want to insert a keyframe here. So what I want then is on frame 30, I want the M to be here. So on frame 1, I want the M to be up at the top of the page. And where I want it to be is, and I'm going to zoom in again to where you can see this. Notice the little crosshair there? I want that to sit right there at the edge of that stage. That's where I want it to be, okay? So at this point, from 1 to 30, that's where it goes. So now what we're going to do is use a motion editor to add a bounce. And in Animate, what we do to do that is right-click anywhere in this motion tween and choose Refine Tween. Now, once I do that, I'm going to have to pull my timeline up because basically the motion editor resides docked with that layer. Okay? So I have the ability to change the location or the transform. I'm going for the location. And we have the ability to change it on the x-axis, which goes across, or the y-axis, which is up and down. And so that's what we want because we want to make this bounce. So ensure that you have this y-axis selected under location. Go here to Add Ease, Bounce and Spring, and we're going to choose Bounce In. And go ahead and double click and you should see some waves here. Okay, now if I go ahead and do show frame and move my playhead back to 1, I should see it bounce in to where it settles on that guideline. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull my timeline back down to hide that refine below it. Whoops, right there. And I'm going to position my playhead is here in 31. And at this point, I want to add a motion tween on this. So this is going to be a separate motion tween. And I'm going to go out to frame 45. And I am going to insert a keyframe. And I am going to use my shift and my arrow keys again to move my letter off the bottom of the stage. And I'm going to move it off just to where that top edge of the text box is right below the stage. Okay, so this is what I have now. Bounce in, drop off. Only now, if I click in this motion tween here, I want to go to my properties panel and I want to choose to rotate it 1 time counterclockwise. So let's play that one more time. Bounce in, rotate off. So the good thing is that we don't have to do that whole step with every letter here, because Animate gives us the ability to copy a motion and apply it to others. So what we want to do first is we need to set up these letters because we want them to stagger in one after the other. We don't want them to come all in at the same time. So we're going to set up some keyframes first that's going to make it easier for us to do this. If you click and drag all the way up, we can insert a keyframe, F6. That's frame 31. Okay, so it's basically lining up with what we have here. Then once we do that, then we can go back to frame 1 and move our playhead there, and we want to move all of the rest of the letters up to where it matches the other one up at the top of the stage. So I'm going to select with a click and drag. That's all I did. Click and drag, and it allowed me to select all of those. And I can use the keyboards, the shift and the arrow key on the keyboard to move these up. And remember, I have it to where the, I'm going to zoom in. Sorry, that's the best way. And I know I can see here that I need to move these up one more bump, or maybe 2. There, I moved them up 2. So I got them all the same now in frame 1. Okay, so I'm going to show frame again, show my frame again. All of them are up there. So now what I want to do is this. I need to click and drag to select just that first motion tween. And I'm going to right click and choose copy motion. And then I'm going to click and drag, right click, paste motion. And now if I check it, they're all going to bounce in. Okay. Now I can click off of it and I can click and drag to select this second motion. Right click, copy motion, click and drag, right click, paste motion. And I can check that again. They're still bouncing in, and now they're rotating off. Okay, so we've got that. Now we want to stagger by 10 frames. So I'm going to select all of this. It's selected. Now if I click on frame 1, I can move it until I am at frame 10, and I can see it by my indicator.